He's top 2 and he ain't 2. I'm gonna say it again. He is top 2, but he ain't 2.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
It's time. It's time for the GOAT to get his moment to shine. When I think about video game demons, Asura is the first name that comes to mind. He's the reason I even thought about making this demon series in the first place. When it comes to these upper echelon video game demons, I can't put anyone higher than him. It's gonna be real hard to top this man for sure. But before I get carried away, let me do my due diligence. This is a series I'm making about the most disrespectful, the most ridiculous, and of course the most OP niggas. And on this channel we call them demons. Alright y'all, today we're going to be looking at some of this man's feats, and this man has plenty of them. All you really need to know is that Asura is a demigod, and was part of a group of gods fighting an endless fight to save the planet from these monsters. But of course he was betrayed by his own people. They killed his wife, kidnapped his daughter to use her like she was a battery to make them stronger, then they killed him and spread lore around the world that he was an evil god. But you can't really keep a real nigga down, so he climbed his way out of hell. When he finally climbed out of hell, many years passed. Hundreds and thousands of years in fact. So just know this nigga rage or wrath has no time limit. So now that you know why he's fighting these OP niggas, let's get into it. Let's start with one of the first bosses you fight in the game. After Asura comes back to life, he eventually encounters this big man. He's talking shit basically, and Asura, who doesn't even remember who he is, immediately punches him and they begin scrapping. At a certain point in the fight, Asura tosses him off a cliff and Big Boy becomes an even bigger boy. There's a lot of back and forth and even a point where they're running parallel with each other, but eventually Asura punches him so hard that he flies into space.
Looks like Team Rocket's blasting off again!
This man is so fucking strong, but it still ain't over yet. Bigger Boy decides he's tired of Asura and gathers energy to transform into Biggest Boy. Look at this nigga. He's bigger than Earth, and he uses one finger to poke Asura and kill him. How can anyone survive something like this? Well, if you're a demon,
Anything's possible! Anything's possible!
before Asura was about to be poked to death, literally, you can just still see this man talking shit to this man, telling him to bring it on. While trying not to be crushed by Biggest Boy's finger, he has flashbacks of his kid being kidnapped and his wife dying in his arms, and he remembers who his real enemies are. Then he just starts going crazy on this man's fingers, punching the hell out of it, and then he clenches his fists and then delivers one final punch that spreads throughout the Biggest Boy's body and annihilates him. Now this boss fight with a nigga the size of Galactus happens in the first part of the game, and if you really think about it, Asura's only punching niggas to death. Breaking news, we've just learned the Biggest Boy has been brutally beaten to death. There were plenty of witnesses, but no information has come forth yet because, and I quote, "I ain't trying to be punched to death like that nigga." The suspect is still at large, and our thoughts and prayers go out to the Biggest Boy's family. Bro, this is just the beginning of Asura's rampage. But let's jump ahead a little bit. After a fight with another demigod where Asura destroys a bunch of ships, a whole battalion in fact, and crushes the demigod inside his own escape pod, yes, that happened, he's taken to a hot spring to recuperate by his former master, who is also one of the niggas who betrayed him. After some pervy, cheesy anime moments, both men stand up and get ready to square up. And you know where they decided to fight at? Did you guess the fucking moon? These niggas went to the moon to fucking fight and they started going crazy. I'm talking haymakers, uppercuts, you name it, they fucking doing it. And then they do a huge exchange of fists. Asura lands a big hit on his master and sends him flying back. Then this man gets up like, this ain't even my true power, and pulls out a sword. This nigga brought a sword to a fist fight. His master got moves like Gin from Bleach though, and he's able to easily slice through the moon like cheese. But then after another big clash, his master tries to thrust his sword inside of Asura's chest, but Asura catches it and begins to be pushed back. And then eventually, being pushed back so far, this nigga is being pushed back into space, back to Earth. This nigga is falling through the atmosphere again. When Asura hits the ground first, the blades start passing through his body into the ground and outside of the other side of the planet. Who is living through this? Only real demons live through this type of shit. But right before his master can land on top of him to deliver the final blow, Asura breaks the sword, then the handle flies into the air, he catches it in his mouth and slices his master's stomach open. This is the GOAT. Strength, speed, versatility, and amazing reactions. He's top 2 and he ain't 2. I'm gonna say it again. He is top 2, but he ain't 2. But ladies and gentlemen, we're still not done yet. For this part, all you really need to know is that there is a girl that looks like Asura's daughter, and him and her had an unspoken connection. She looked at Asura as one of the good gods because in her past, the gods that showed up usually were the ones that caused the most problems and damage. So she decided that she was going to follow and help him whenever she can. Now, here we go. These gods help people by purifying them. Now, I don't know about you, but if you say you're going to help me, at the bare minimum, I don't expect you to make it worse. To these purifying means dropping bombs and nuking them. Call of Duty kill streak type beat. So after trying his best to protect the village with no arms, in fact, don't sleep on my man's feet work either. So, you know what I'm saying? He'll get Sanji run for his money. He was ultimately unable to save the village and the young girl dies. This moment is where Asura first succumbs to his rage and his whole body is transformed. Screaming in anger and sadness, he is able to send shockwaves throughout the sky into space, destroying an entire fleet. Even this man's screams can cause niggas to die. Now he think he's Sindel or something. The only way they would be able to stop him was to use the energy they gathered over thousands of years and fire a beam at him. But Yasha, who was his brother-in-law, had a change of heart after seeing Asura getting stronger and stronger without having to rely on the souls of people. He ran and then defeated the people inside the ship and stopped the beam from firing and finishing off Asura. Fast forward a bit and Yasha and a flamboyant demigod are having a heated argument about if purifying is the right thing to do. Oh, now after all these years of killing people, you want to talk about the morality of it. Boy, if you don't. Anyways, at this point in time, mid-sentence, guess who shows up? A real nigga. And he slices this man's guts open with his bare hands. Then he gets a clean shot for the gram. Then, Asura picked this nigga up by his neck and the god begins to talk shit, saying he was the one who killed Asura's wife.
Oh, son of a bitch! What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
And that Yasha was and will forever be a dog and all types of other wild shit. Now me personally, I wouldn't have let it go on for as long as it did, but sure enough, it didn't take long for Asura to slam this nigga into the ground and stomp his head in. Holy shit, this nigga went out horrendously. He didn't even get a chance to fight. He stumped this man's character development out of the game. Pure disrespect. Now, I'm not going to deep dive into this fight because I think the last two I have in mind are better, but this man did so much cool shit, I at least gotta mention it. He teamed up with Yasha and fought a monster that resided in the Earth's core. Funnily enough, it reminded me of Sonic Adventures 2's final fight. But anyway, let's go into the final canon fight of the game. This man Asura has been through a lot. Died 2.5 times, watched tons of people die, fought on Earth, in space, and on the moon, lost family, friends, and it wasn't over yet. The true villain showed its colors at the very last moment and possessed his daughter. This evil ass nigga is the cause of all the problems that's happened so far. This nigga created all the trials and tribulations on Earth just to find a successor to watch over the planet so they can go do the same shit to a different planet. And they want Asura to be the one to do so. They tortured everyone on this planet just because. So now, we cut to Asura sitting under a waterfall, reminiscing about everything. Now you know if a nigga under a waterfall, they're about to unleash their inner demon. Asura hops on the ship and flies into space to fight the final boss. The boss basically had enough of this planet and considered it a failure, and fires a beam to wipe out everything. Are you niggas ready for this? Asura powers up using the energy and power from the other defeated gods and souls from the people on Earth and blocks the beam with his own body. After that, we see the bigger fucking version of Asura. He's bigger than the fucking planet. What a sight to see, by the way. If I looked out my window and saw this nigga staring down at me, I might unalive myself on the spot. And now that I think about it, the power skeleton in this game is fucking crazy. From the beginning to the end, nigga was on some OP shit, and it just kept going on and getting bigger and bigger. Now with his new form, he flies towards the golden god, ready to finish the job. He has to dodge and destroy planets, suns, and galaxies that the golden god is throwing at him to get there first. Let me say it again. They are fighting each other and destroying entire galaxies in the process. Ruin millions of worlds and development in the process. Cold-blooded. So he makes it inside the golden god and confronts the actual god inside of it. And the god tells him good news. He says, "You've won, you've been chosen. You can have your daughter back, and all you gotta do is accept my role as a substitute god and everything will be fine." And then you try to shake this man's hand.
I refuse.
Asura then proceeds to rock his shit. He doesn't care about nothing this man is talking about. This guy is the reason why Asura still exists, a god of creation, and that don't mean nothing to him. When there's a nigga that's great at creating something, there will always be someone who's great at destroying stuff too. And guess who's that person? The demon. The goat. So, they start going at it. Asura eventually hits him so hard the god loses his entire composure and transforms again. Just look at this shit. He's trying to erase this man, but you just can't erase these hands. They start exchanging blows with each other and it's a back and forth for a bit, but I don't know why this man thought he could keep up with Asura in a fist fight, but he was sadly mistaken. He got punched so hard Asura's daughter popped out of his Asura's daughter though tries to stop him from finishing off the god of creation because she knows if he dies, then Asura dies as well. But a real nigga only thought is,
job's not finished. Job finished? I don't think so.
And then proceeds to deliver the hardest punch I think I've ever seen. Look at this shit. He removed that man from existence. And then at the very end, he can smile and take a deep breath knowing his wrath is now gone. And he can finally rest in peace. If this don't show he's number one, I don't know what will. That's the ending of the story. But if that's not enough, there is one more fight that I think is worth mentioning. It really shows just how much of a beast this man actually is. I'm just gonna show this clip real quick. Just watch this clip real quick. Yes, that is Asura punching Ryu so hard that they went to the moon. He had a fight with Ryu and beat this man so bad he transformed into evil Ryu. He even started doing Street Fighter moves just to be a dick. Now before the fight could end, Akuma shows up and even he's on board. I think this part is funny though. Akuma immediately kicks Ryu and sends them back to his own game. It's funny as hell. Now it's just Akuma and Asura left, and they fight is on a whole nother level. Heavier blows and all compared to the fight with Ryu. And then even Akuma transforms as well and tries to chop Asura's head off, but slices the moon as well. Then, at one point Asura punches Akuma in the face and then grabs that man by the face, dragging him across the moon. These guys are constantly clashing against each other. And then one blow even led to the moon being destroyed. And they started fighting through the moon, falling through space, back to Earth. How many times is gonna happen? And even after they landed back on Earth, the fighting didn't stop. The order energy is still insane. The fight is technically still going on till this day. And I know this is just Capcom making sure that their Street Fighter characters still look good, but you gotta be out of your mind if you think they can compete with Asura. Asura is just crazy. This man's resume is stacked to the brim with notable achievements, and I still didn't mention all of them. He had harder fights than a lot of other people, and he wasn't dog walking everybody, but that's fine. The quality of his battles are almost unmatchable. But if you have someone in mind, let me know. They ain't gonna be at the top of the upper echelon like these niggas, but they might still be good. In the near future, I'm probably gonna be exploring some of the lower tier demons next, cause you know, everybody can't be top tier. So, you know, just wait till you see what's coming up next. But before I go, here's a hint of what my next demon will be.
What are you saying? I'm saying Jack is back.